At first glance, Amish technology rules can look like a contradiction. No car in the driveway, but a hired driver on the road. No telephone in the kitchen, but a phone booth at the end of the lane. No public electricity in the house, but batteries, buggy lights, and sometimes even solar panels in use. To outsiders, that can seem inconsistent. But to the Amish, it makes perfect sense. Because the Amish are not simply asking whether a machine is modern. They are asking a much deeper question. What will this device do to our family, our faith, our humility, and our community? And once you understand that, the entire picture changes. The Amish are often described as people who reject modern life, but that description misses the real story. The Amish do not divide the world into old things and new things. They divide it into things that strengthen community and things that weaken it. What matters is not whether a tool exists in the 21st century. What matters is whether that tool quietly serves life or slowly begins to reshape it. To understand why this matters so much, it helps to step back for a moment. The Amish trace their roots to the Anabaptist movement in Europe and to the late 17th century followers of Jacob Ammon. Their religious tradition emphasizes adult commitment, humility, obedience, simplicity, and a clear separation from the wider world. That separation is not about hiding from history. It is about protecting a way of life they believe helps people live more faithfully. At the center of Amish life is something called the Ordnung. It is not a glossy rulebook sitting on a shelf. It is an unwritten framework of church discipline that shapes everyday life, from clothing and grooming to schooling, transportation, and technology. In practice, the Ordnung is how a local Amish church decides where its boundaries are. It tells people what belongs inside their community life, what does not, and how they are meant to relate to the outside world. And that word, local, matters more than most outsiders realize. There is no single Amish rulebook for all Amish people everywhere. Different affiliations and church districts can have different standards, sometimes dramatically different ones. Some are far more conservative. Others are more flexible. That is why one Amish settlement may allow a certain machine or phone arrangement while another rejects it completely. Any serious attempt to understand Amish technology has to begin with that diversity. So when people ask, why do the Amish ban technology? The Amish answer is usually more subtle. Technology is not automatically evil. The concern is what happens when technology is left untamed. Amish scholars and community observers have pointed out that many Amish believe certain tools can accelerate assimilation, weaken local ties, introduce foreign values, encourage pride, or shift authority away from the church and family toward the individual. That fear is especially strong with media technologies, because those devices do not just help people do tasks. They also carry ideas, habits, desires, and identities into the home. And this is where the story becomes more interesting. The Amish are not trying to freeze time. They are trying to control the speed and direction of change. That may sound like a small difference, but it explains almost everything. In the modern world, we usually adopt a technology first and worry about the consequences later. The Amish reverse that order. Before accepting a tool, they ask whether it will make people more independent from the church, more mobile, more private, more distracted, more proud, or more tempted by the outside world. If the answer is yes, the tool becomes dangerous, even if it is useful. If the tool can be modified, distanced, or limited so that it serves a practical need without changing the culture too deeply, then it may be allowed in some form. One of the clearest examples is the Amish home itself. For the Amish, the home is not just a building. It is a moral space. It is where family order, prayer, work, and community life are meant to be protected. So the question is often not simply whether a technology exists, but whether it enters the home and changes its atmosphere. A device in the barn, or in a shop, or at the end of a lane may be treated very differently from that same device sitting in the middle of the kitchen. That helps explain one of the most famous Amish distinctions: electricity. Most old order Amish groups forbid connection to public utility lines. To outsiders, that can seem arbitrary. After all, electricity is just electricity. But to the Amish, grid power is not simply a neutral current moving through wires. It is a permanent tie to the outside system, a pipeline carrying convenience, entertainment, consumer goods, and a different pace of life right into the center of the household. Battery power, on the other hand, is often viewed differently. Because it is more local, more limited, and more controllable. Some Amish communities allow batteries for specific uses. These can include lights on buggies, flashlights, calculators, cash registers, fans, copy machines, and typewriters. In some places, solar energy is used to charge those batteries or to power electric fences and selected equipment. The issue is not whether energy exists. The issue is whether that energy creates dependency and opens the door to a larger modern system that reshapes daily life. This is why the Amish can look inconsistent without actually being inconsistent at all. The difference between a battery and a power line is not mainly technical. It is social. A battery can be contained. A public hookup changes the structure of the home. One device is a tool with boundaries. The other becomes an infrastructure. And infrastructures are powerful, because once they arrive, many other things tend to arrive with them. Young Center. But that was only part of the story. To really see Amish logic in action, you have to leave the house and step onto the road. The horse and buggy is one of the most recognizable symbols of Amish life, and it is also one of the most misunderstood. Many people assume the Amish ride in buggies because they are romantically attached to the past. In reality, the buggy serves a social purpose. Cars are not avoided just because they are modern. They are avoided because ownership of cars would make it too easy to travel constantly, work far from home, drift into city life, and loosen the tight local bonds that hold an Amish church together. Once a family owns a car, distance changes. Visiting patterns change. Work patterns change. Young people gain access to wider social worlds. Economic choices expand. The entire rhythm of belonging becomes less local. In Amish thinking, that is not a side effect. That is the main effect. The car is threatening not because it has an engine, but because it can pull the community apart. That same logic explains the Amish tractor rule, another detail that fascinates outsiders. In many communities, tractors may be allowed for certain farm or shop uses, but they are modified with steel wheels rather than rubber tires. To modern eyes, that sounds almost theatrical. But the purpose is practical within the Amish worldview. Steel wheels limit road use and keep the machine tied to work rather than mobility. The point is not to reject horsepower while secretly liking engines. The point is to prevent a work tool from becoming a substitute automobile. And here is another subtle distinction. Many Amish are allowed to use things they are not allowed to own. They may hire non-Amish drivers for long trips. They may take buses, trains, or other public transportation. In some settings, they may use a phone or a machine owned by someone else. This distinction between ownership and limited use helps maintain dependence, friction, and boundaries. It keeps the technology from becoming fully personal, private, and identity-shaping. And then there is the telephone. Few examples reveal Amish thinking more clearly than the phone. Early on, telephones became a problem because they brought the outside world into the home and reduced face-to-face visiting. If a person could simply call, why travel? Why sit together? Why maintain the kind of embodied, time-consuming relationships that Amish community life depends on? From the Amish point of view, the telephone did not just speed up communication. It changed the social fabric around communication. That is why many Amish communities historically rejected home telephones but allowed community phones or phone shanties. These small buildings, sometimes resembling tiny sheds or outhouses, were placed away from the house, often at the end of a lane and shared by several families. The arrangement created access without intimacy. The phone could be used for emergencies, business, and necessary coordination, but it remained outside the emotional center of family life. Even the physical walk to the phone served as a kind of boundary. That physical distance is easy to overlook, but it matters. A phone in the house invites interruption. A phone in a separate building requires intention. The Amish have often relied on exactly this kind of friction. They are not always eliminating technology. Sometimes they are designing inconvenience on purpose, because inconvenience can protect values that convenience slowly erodes. And this is where things begin to change. As more Amish families moved beyond full-time farming and into small businesses, carpentry, manufacturing, retail, and construction, communication pressures increased. Customers expected faster responses. Suppliers needed coordination. Veterinarians, dentists, and food dealers had to be reached quickly. In many places, access to phones became economically important, not as a luxury but as a practical necessity. That pushed Amish communities to develop new compromises, especially from the mid-20th century onward and even more intensely with the growth of Amish enterprise in later decades. This is one reason the old stereotype of all Amish are farmers no longer works. Many Amish people today still farm, but many others work in shops, construction crews, family businesses, roadside stands, or non-Amish workplaces. The more those economic patterns changed, the more pressure there was to find carefully limited ways of using technology without surrendering to it. In other words, Amish technology rules were not formed in a vacuum. They were formed in constant negotiation with economic survival. And then the smartphone arrived, and with it, a much bigger challenge. A traditional telephone already worried the Amish because it could reduce visiting and invite outside influence. But the internet-connected smartphone changed the debate entirely. According to scholar Stephen Nolt, once phones gained texting, cameras, and especially reliable internet access, the issue was no longer simply communication. The smartphone placed a private, portable doorway to the wider world directly into an individual's hand. That kind of device did not just increase access. It privatized access. That idea of privatized choice is crucial. Amish life is built around communal discernment. Decisions are meant to be visible, discussed, tested, and accountable to the church. But a smartphone can create an invisible world of private viewing, private contacts, private entertainment, private temptation, and private identity. It bypasses the normal social checks that Amish culture depends on. In Nolt's analysis, this is one of the main reasons internet-enabled phones are so troubling in Amish communities. They dismantle discernment by making too much of life hidden and individual. That concern is not just about pornography or media, although those concerns do exist. It is also about the architecture of the device itself. A smartphone collapses boundaries. Work and home blend together. The outside world follows a person everywhere. Silence disappears. The private self grows stronger. For a culture built on humility, restraint, and visible interdependence, that is not a minor shift. It is a direct challenge to the social order. What makes this even more interesting is that the Amish response has not simply been yes or no. In many cases, it has been invention. Some Amish communities and Amish-serving businesses have developed workarounds that try to capture the usefulness of a technology without importing all of its consequences. Nolt notes that some districts have accepted forms of wireless phone technology like VoIP systems because they can allow calling without turning the device into a texting, video, or internet portal. Other arrangements keep digital equipment in separate offices or workshops rather than the home. In more entrepreneurial settings, some families use filtered systems or third-party arrangements that restrict access to specific business functions. Writers who have closely observed Amish technical life describe a similar pattern. Rather than simply refusing modern tools, Amish mechanics and entrepreneurs often modify them. Workshops may run on hydraulic or pneumatic systems instead of standard electrical power. Traditional-looking devices may be retrofitted for different fuel sources. Purpose-built communication tools can be stripped down to serve narrow tasks while avoiding the flood of entertainment and distraction built into mainstream devices. The Amish are often less passive about technology than outsiders imagine. In many cases, they are active designers of limits. That is why the phrase, "the Amish reject technology," is so misleading. In many situations, the better phrase is this: the Amish redesign technology socially. They change where it can exist, who can own it, when it can be used, what features it may have, and how visible it is allowed to become. Sometimes the machine itself is modified. Other times the rule around the machine does the real work. And none of this is uniform. Some of the most conservative Amish groups, such as Schwarzentruber communities, are known for extremely strict limits and may reject even forms of battery lighting that other Amish permit. At the other end, New Order Amish communities may allow home telephones, electricity, automobiles, and more modern farming equipment. Between those poles lies a wide spectrum of practice. So any claim that the Amish allow this, or the Amish forbid that, is always, in reality, a statement about particular churches and particular districts. This variation can confuse outsiders, but it also reveals something important. Amish rules are not random leftovers from another century. They are living decisions made by communities trying to preserve a moral world under changing conditions. The rules can shift because the pressures shift. The internet is not the same challenge as the telephone. E-bikes are not the same challenge as tractors. Solar panels are not the same challenge as public utility lines. The Amish response evolves because the threats and opportunities evolve. There is also a deeper spiritual layer beneath all of this. Amish life places enormous value on humility, submission, and belonging. In mainstream modern culture, technology is often celebrated because it empowers the individual. It gives people more freedom, more control, more speed, more personalization, more options. But from an Amish perspective, those are not automatically virtues. Sometimes they are dangers. A device that strengthens individual choice at the expense of community authority may be seen as spiritually corrosive, even if it is efficient. That is why convenience alone is not a convincing argument in Amish life. In the modern world, convenience is almost always treated as good. But observers of Amish culture have noted that many Amish are suspicious of ease when ease leads to leisure, vanity, distraction, or a weakening of discipline. Hard work is not merely tolerated. It is often morally meaningful. Labor anchors people. Effort fills time. Slowness can protect relationships. A machine that saves work may also create forms of idleness or independence that the community does not welcome. Even Amish education reflects that worldview. Most Amish children attend 1- or 2-room private Amish schools or rural public schools, and formal schooling usually ends after the 8th grade. The goal is not to maximize personal ambition in the modern competitive sense. It is to prepare children for adult life within the community. Work, family, church, language, and practical responsibility. In that context, technology is not treated as destiny. It is treated as one influence among many, and one that must be judged carefully. The same goes for leisure and family life. Britannica notes that Amish families often read or sing together in the evenings, and common pastimes include simple games and sports. That does not mean Amish life is frozen, joyless, or untouched by change. It means that social life is still organized around presence more than screens. The Amish fear that many modern devices do not simply entertain. They displace forms of togetherness that took generations to build. And maybe that is the real heart of the story. The Amish are not mainly asking whether a device works. They are asking what kind of people a device quietly trains us to become. Does it make us more impatient, more mobile, more private, more proud, more distracted, less dependent on our neighbors, less likely to visit, less likely to sit still, less likely to accept limits? Those are not technical questions. They are moral questions. And once you hear Amish technology rules in that key, the supposed contradictions begin to disappear. The buggy is not just transportation. It is localism. The phone shanty is not just inconvenience. It is a boundary. Steel wheels are not a gimmick. They are restraint. Battery power is not hypocrisy. It is controlled access. A ban on smartphones is not fear of progress. It is fear of what constant private connection can do to a visible, disciplined, face-to-face community. Of course, none of this means Amish life is simple in the easy sense of the word. Amish communities face pressure from business markets, tourism, land costs, generational change, and the same human weaknesses every society faces. The rules around technology do not eliminate tension. They manage it. Sometimes imperfectly. Sometimes creatively. Sometimes with deep internal debate. But that ongoing struggle is exactly what makes the Amish approach so revealing. It shows a community trying, with unusual seriousness, to decide not just what it can use, but what it is willing to become. And in a world where most of us adopt every new device by default, that question may be more unsettling than it first appears. Because the Amish are not only offering a different lifestyle, they are offering a different test. Not, is this faster? Not, is this smarter? Not even, is this useful? But, what will this do to our souls, our homes, and the people sitting closest to us? That may be why Amish technology rules continue to fascinate the modern world. On the surface, they seem to be about buggies, batteries, and telephones. But underneath, they are really about limits. About community. about the cost of convenience, and about whether a society can still choose restraint when speed is available everywhere. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more respectful deep dives into hidden cultures, belief systems, and ways of life that challenge the modern world. And if you want, leave a comment with the next Amish topic we should explore.